Welcome everybody. We are in the IOTA Discord governance call at Tuesday, the 8th of November. Um, and we are already in the middle of discussion. So I think stating if you are involved in any project and receiving some kind of rewards from that project is a good thing to know for voters. But I don't know to which conclusion we came over those meetings exactly, if we want to make it a mandatory thing or if we want to leave it open for applicants to state it anyway. I don't know. What do people think? What are your opinions?
Well, maybe I can start. My opinion is I think it's good to say with which projects you are actively involved. As DeepSea said, no need to list any exact rewards or token payouts you ever received or anything, but just saying, yeah, I am actively involved in these 1, 2, 3 projects, and I guess that's just an interesting information.
Yeah, I agree because I think it came down to just basically, and all that means is that it doesn't negate someone from being a reviewer. It just simply means that the community and the program lead is going to see, okay, if they're in the gaming, if they have an affiliation to a gaming project, then they won't necessarily be able to review another gaming project. That's all. They can review every other project out there.
Yeah.
And that's simply it. And it's basically just saying, publicizing that they may have a conflict of interest, not saying that they're going to vote in any different way, but just to keep things clean, we can just certainly give that project to someone else to review in that case.
And would this be something that we say, I definitely think, yes, everything that somebody is currently involved in should be a public information for voters to know. But I think, Linus, you also phrased the question about if somebody has received things in the past. Of course, if you received last month a large chunk of token and that basically was your payout or something, yeah. But if you received, I don't know, a year ago something, does it still count if you're still holding them, or if maybe you have already sold the tokens, but you would still then need to state that you 1 year ago have received some of those tokens. So I think the details here are a bit tricky.
What if we just kind of state something along the lines of, do you have any affiliations that could be currently working for a project, participating in any boards, have any direct attachments to projects, or large token holdings that could create a conflict of interest for voting? If yes, simply write the project. It doesn't have to say what part of that, whether you have token holdings or not, or anything. And if they sold the token holdings, then I would say that's not a conflict of interest anymore, right? But I think it's okay for us to say conflict of interest, because that's really just what we're looking for is, hey, do you have a conflict of interest? We just simply, you're just not going to review those category of projects,
And I mean, we have
and
it. We have it also in the requirements, yeah. Stated for committee members in our recent requirements is all committee members must reveal any potential conflicts of interest in becoming a committee member. They need to indicate if they currently are or have been in the past part of a team in a DLT project or have other connections to projects or teams that could cause a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest policy needs to be accepted and signed. This is anyway, whoever gets voted in latest at this point, you need to reveal it. So the question
was that written in the framework?
That's written in the framework, yeah. This is basically something that we have in since pretty much the beginning, I think. Or like since a long time, yeah.
So maybe So they just have to reveal it. I mean, yeah, so then the question is, do they have to reveal it for the election process, or do they just have to understand that if elected, they have to reveal it? And would that be a bit better? Like,
Yeah.
Like just some sort of notation that, hey, if you get
Yeah.
elected, you're gonna have to reveal any sort of affiliations or conflict of interest, blah blah blah. But I don't think we need anyone to necessarily reveal it now. What do you think, Linus?
Actually, since it is definitely they have to reveal it at some point anyway, I'm okay with both options.
Okay.
I still think it is interesting for the voters just to know what is this person, let's say, doing in the space generally. But actually, this can also be answered in the other questions of the application.
But I agree with
Just
you, Linus. It's kind of, I mean,
Mm.
for me personally, as a voter, this is something I would want to know. Yeah, if somebody is there and I know him or her out of the community already, but I maybe don't know if this person is involved in 3 projects, is a project manager or getting paid to do marketing or is a community manager in any of our ecosystem projects. Maybe I just don't know this and just know the person from our Discord where these things are not happening. So I would actually like to know this before I vote for somebody. You're right, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
And so then people will anyway need to reveal it. So in the end, I kind of agree a little bit with Linus. It doesn't really make sense to require it
Yeah.
later and not in the beginning because it's an
Even
important information for voters, I think.
What
Yeah,
if
I'd
the
also
project
say
has
it
what if the
really
project hasn't
influences
launched yet?
voting.
Like if it's not revealed?
Hmm?
Would it just be like on a trust basis that they just, they'll say that they're involved with such and such project, but it just won't be specific?
You mean not? You say, okay, I'm involved with a gaming platform that is building
Yeah, but
on Shimmer.
it's not public. The information isn't public yet. There's so many projects that haven't been,
Yeah.
that haven't been launched yet, but they might be involved or they might be receiving a salary right now.
Good point.
I mean,
I mean,
in reality, because even if someone has an affiliation and they can't review that, we do still want to know. So let's say you have an NFT marketplace. So they might not be able to review another NFT marketplace grant. But if that person's been running an NFT marketplace and it's been successful, we now have kind of like a subject matter expert in that field that we could always ask questions to. And I think that's the diverse kind of set of reviewers we want, right? We want reviewers that actually are active in the Web3 space, that are active in the IOTA ecosystem. So, it would be good to know that they are, have completed these projects. Someone, I guess it could be voluntary, but, in the framework, they are going to have to divulge if they are elected, if they have any conflict of interest at some point. So to me, it would be just say it now because we really want to know their background. And that's a lot of the questions of, what do you bring into the table as a reviewer, particularly in the Web3 space, and how can you help?
Yeah, I think that's a good point because it's like you don't have to. I mean, it could be a conflict of interest, but you don't have to necessarily frame it that way because it could be beneficial, like you just pointed out.
Yeah. I think basically, yes, we should bring this text already into these application questions. Basically, make it a question. Okay, please state any DLT project that you are currently affiliated with, employed by, or receive any benefits for your involvement or something like this. Yeah, and then people basically can write down. Okay, maybe we can really say, okay, you don't need to name a specific project, but you kind of need to describe in which field they operate and what your relationship with this thing is. Something like this.
Okay.
And for the lead, because we have it also there, the lead definitely actually needs to state it, because for the lead we have already excluded anyone that has a paid position in another project cannot become a lead. So I think definitely for the lead we must put it already in the application form, that basically we may have to make it a requirement for the lead application that you can't apply basically if you are currently holding a position in another project, or you have to, I don't know, guarantee that you basically quit this job to take the lead position, something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
realized it will actually be. I think it's a very sensible rule, and I think it's good. I think it will be hard to find someone who's both very qualified for an IOTA ecosystem grant lead position and is not actually employed or co-founder or whatever of any project here. But
I don't know. I mean, you have people that are professionals in other jobs. You don't need to be involved in a DLT project. Yeah, if you're kind of coming from
that's
finance,
true.
if you're coming from finance, or you're coming from project management, or if you're kind of a software developer at Dell or whatever, then you might still be super qualified, but you're not really kind of in the DLT space, so you're not really having a conflict of interest with the projects that apply in the platform.
That's true. It's maybe also interesting for people who are very qualified in these kind of jobs, but are not yet really full into the crypto space. Like have a position somewhere else still, but consider to move over, and they're also qualified.
Or
Then this could be an
you
opportunity.
maybe have been running a grant program for the European Union or something like this. There's all kind of skilled people out there. You would have to, if you're involved in a crypto project, you would basically either cannot apply or you would have to quit this. And even then, you would need to state it, because I don't know if you just quit something and then you still have kind of a relationship usually. So that's, again, I think an information the voter needs to know.
Yeah.
Basically, good points. Let's sketch out some texts and add them basically. Should we go through the current application questions just for everybody, that so that everybody is a little bit how it would basically currently look like. So if do you see my screen? Yeah. I'm sharing it in the channel. Yeah. So basically, if I go to the forum now, this is actually the grant reviewer. It's not yet opened, kind of, but if somebody would then want to submit an application, they will get this template where we actually have all the questions, or like a predefined template. Yeah, and it would start with your display name and age. So you put up your name, you put up your age. Or you just want to say that you're above 21. I'm waiting for the confirmation. I think it could be also 18 for Switzerland. You put up your social media handles. We have been talking about this sentence. There's no specific requirement that an applicant publicizes their social media, and it's voluntary and this voluntary and recommended is something we have been kind of a little bit hiccup around. Don't know if this sentence is necessary or useful. Any comments on that?
Well, since grant reviewer is somewhat of a public person who also gets elected publicly, actually, I think you could just cancel this note, and maybe the headline says social media handles and then in brackets where applicable. So this means these people don't need literally an account or every platform there, but I think it is expected, right, that they just tell who are they on Twitter, who are they on Reddit and Discord.
Yeah, that's what I personally also think. We don't need to put this recommended there. Basically, as you said, if somebody is not stating any social media accounts, how can we basically figure out who this person is? And yeah,
How
so
about articulate that concern rather than say, you give us your social media, say, we need to get to know you. So, for example, your social media or anything else that we can dive into your experience or interest or something like that.
yes. The only thing that I think about this is basically, this feels a little bit like hand-holding things. Yeah, I mean, people, I personally don't want to recommend applicants what would be a good way to write an application. I basically think people should actually know. Yeah, so this thing like you might have better chances if you state all your social media accounts. It's coming from this direction, which is kind of something I don't know if we want or should say this. But we can
Like
leave it
just
like
a get to know you,
yeah,
section, and then
yeah.
leave it open. And if they know, they know, and if they don't, they don't.
Actually, I like that. Yeah. Actually, I like that. Yes. Something like the community wants to get to know you. Something like that. Yeah. State. Here you have the chance to state your social media handles. Well, so then it's still free for everybody to do it or not. But yeah, the community will be smart enough to figure out if somebody doesn't state any social media handle, then everybody can make up their mind around that. Yeah.
So you like the idea of having this like a very free art, let's say, and everybody just finds their own way and how to do it well.
I just think people are grown up enough to understand how important this is. So I would not need any special mention about this whole thing. Social media handles are a must in my opinion. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
even make it optional or something like that. So, but that's my
Yeah, that's
personal
true.
thing. Yeah.
This is also where I was getting to. I don't think they are really optional. Maybe just. But what I like about the current form of the application is that it has a very clear format. Like the same information will be placed at the
Yeah.
same points of every application, and this makes it more easier to skim through several applications because they're not all completely different. They look somewhat the same, so easier to compare them.
Yeah. That's the thing you have to. I mean, JD did put this up. So you put your backgrounds there. You put what do you think? What's your relevant experience for this position? If somebody has experience as a grant reviewer, of course, that's always interesting. Question things critically, draw consequences. In your opinion, which of your skills are the most important one? Of course, the question if we get a proper software developer that has skills, I think that's always a very valuable skill in such a committee where a lot of software things needs to be reviewed. Providing any web links or supporting documentation. Basically, yeah, you could link something here. People could upload something there. And then these legal questions are kind of also an important thing. If somebody is willing to sign legal binding service provider contract and reveal the identity with KIC, with the legal entity. Then the question about if somebody can commit 10 hours on average per week. And then also what we added, because there's now Dom's proposal in the room. So already here, the question if one would become also a member of the growth committee, if then this person would be willing to put up some additional hours for the growth committee work. I don't know if JD, I think we will skip this January and February thing, kind of this, we don't actually know how and what things would become. I would formulate a little bit different, make a little bit more free. And also the question about if then, because if somebody would become a growth committee member, if this person, of course, also would be willing to sign a service provider contract directly with the Tangle Ecosystem Association, which would basically the facilitator of the growth committee. So these are some, usually only yes, no, basically yes questions. One thing I was thinking about today, looking through this again, actually we didn't specifically state any, let's say, free text thing here. Yeah, so basically this is just answering some questions, put in some information there, but we haven't really put up any space or anything where people could just write something. Yeah, just basically write a text about themselves, who they are, what they want, what they think about things. So do you think this would make sense to have basically an introduction text about yourself, and then you have, or basically you have first the questions, and then below this you have basically space for free flowing, freestyling, writing something? Opinions?
Well, there's the must-haves. It's okay to ask that directly, but there's plenty of other things that can be moved to just a tell us about yourself section that, like social media and things like that.
I mean, I think what motivates you and then what's your background experience, people should be able to include who they are. But I do agree that there should be just a free section, and I wonder like where the web links are, if we could maybe adjust that question to say, is there anything you want the community to know that hasn't been captured yet in these questions? And would you like to include any links for the community to see, something so that if they feel they didn't get anything that's important in those questions that the community should know, they could kind of throw it on there.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay.
This is included right now, right? There is
Yeah.
already the question, is anything missing? Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the order. Basically, if you say it like this, I would think to put this as basically as the last thing. Yeah. So you could provide some links, or you can write an additional statement. What motivates you? What do you want to say to the community about yourself? So basically, having this as a closing statement of your application. Where you then also can put some links for further reading and things like this, would from the order flow, I think would make a little bit more sense, or? So basically, let me think, because there you have this legal questions. So if I take this here, where is it? If I would take this here and just put it below, basically above the poll. Yeah, so, and then provide let's write any closing thoughts or closing statements.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder a little bit what exactly, how will people use this extra free space? But
I mean, I would just basically use it for writing something that was not asked in the questions. Yeah. Write about my motivation or something like this. Are we actually asking about We have the experience
Well, yeah,
question.
explain the motivation is actually right on the top. Yes, this is like the starter.
Okay, yeah. Okay, basically then.
I mean,
yeah.
reality, especially if it's a program lead position, they should be able to include all that and all the other questions. But I mean, again, it's how much kind of
Yeah.
handholding do we want?
Yeah, that's
but
you're right. I mean, we have the motivation thing on the top. Basically, this can be used for an introduction to yourself, to your motivation, and everything. So basically, you're right. We could basically just leave it like that. Cool.
I have another somewhat related question.
Yeah.
There is this one point where it asks for how's it framed, like your proof of your qualification or something, or documents that show your qualification. So how detailed should this be? Like, there are tons of certificates. I don't know. One can have, or should someone put their master's degree in? I don't know.
I don't know. I would say up to the applicants. Yeah, if you have and want to show all your certificates from your since your 6 years, do it. If not, I wouldn't put any requirements there. It's just an optional field for people to put things up. I'm sure if the first one starts to put up all the university degrees and whatever, then the next one will do something similar. As long as it's not basically make the thing yeah. As again, I would try to not make too much recommendations or
Yeah,
enforce.
Just let people find out.
Yeah, let people find out. If you think it's important for voters to know where you gained a certain qualification or a certain skill and you have something to prove it, yeah, you can also just write it and people then later could ask, okay, you write, you have a master degree in whatever physics, can you prove it please? Then you could basically attach it later into your post and not block your application with too much information. But again, that's kind of a little bit the game for everybody to find out how to write a good application. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested because I was also surprised at that, but it because it said, if yes, please describe and prove it. If I agree that, I don't know if there's a way to say, and if you'd like to prove it, submit documentation under the web link paragraph or something, but it almost sounds like you're forced to do it, which I do think it's better if someone says, hey, you've said you've worked in every region around the world. How do we know that? Say, all right, give me a minute. Let me copy all my passport and I'll show you all my work visas. I'm going to do 32-page scans over, 15 years, but so be it. If someone wants to see that, then it's up to the applicant to reply to that person,
Yeah. Where do we have this actually?
Just under. Can you do you have experience leading a grant? It's just under the educational training certificate and what experience. So please describe and proof it, which should be prove it.
Yeah. I would basically say, why do we require it only here with the proof? Yeah, and here also, in your opinion, if possible, provide proof of how and where you obtained the skills.
Because that's also, I was thinking, like, I mean, someone and people probably will, if they want to find, they'll probably find out, especially if we're putting social media handles. But if someone says, well, here's the company website with my picture on it, I don't know. Some people are ruthless in our community, and next thing you know, they're messaging the owner and I don't know.
I mean, from my position, I would maybe not specifically write down that you should prove it. Yeah. Again, leave it up to the applicant to either make a second comment under it and say, okay, I don't want to clog my initial post with too much, but here is a post full of attachments. Or if people ask it in the follow-up questions, then basically prove it on request.
Yeah, I think leave it up to the person. Like maybe they want to put a web link to stuff. Maybe they want to just not put anything. And like you said, then someone may ask them, hey, I think this is a great experience that you have, but would you mind trying to provide something that just shows, the proof, and then they can do that in the comments there.
Okay, cool. I mean, how do others feel about that? Should we strip it a little bit down, and basically make something like, do you have experience as a grant reviewer within or outside crypto? Leave it with this question, and basically then remove this. If yes, please describe and prove it.
I think that's fine.
Yeah. Which, yeah.
I got here late.
Just
Mariana?
No, that was me, Osa. I was saying that maybe we could add something that please note that you can be requested to show any proof or something. Please be prepared that someone might ask, or I don't know, so that it's not prove it now, but just so they know that they might be requested to provide something.
Actually, that's a good thing. I did something, wait, I show you, because I also made this introduction post, basically. So basically, this is read before you apply, yeah? Basically kind of describing a bit what it's about, providing the link so that people that have not really followed up it yet, they can read the whole grant committee framework. They can read about how the selection process will work. And also I did put up the task and conditions here again. And then basically I did put up this here, yeah. Please be proactive in responding to questions from the community about your application, your person, and the information you provide in this application. Attempts to cheat or provide false information can result in excluding you from the selection process. So basically, I did put it up there, yeah. So maybe that's already enough.
Yeah, this could be enough. Because except for some really core qualifications, like did you really work as a grant reviewer specifically before? This probably should be proven, but I don't know. Let's just take me for an example. Like I have a degree in genetic engineering and so on. Do I need to upload the scan, or I don't know?
Same
I have to find out.
Same for me. Actually, I don't have my bachelor degree anymore. It's kind of 20 years ago. I have actually forgot it in Germany. I wouldn't even have it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
LinkedIn should be good. That should. Does LinkedIn actually vet your credentials? I'm not sure on that.
Nope.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, so then, yeah.
So, I mean, so I guess this seems like a typical grant reviewing process from what I've done, but is this? I guess this might be a controversial thing to say, but is this really necessary for all of this? Like, why would you need to have a person to be a former grant reviewer for this to happen? Or like, I assume there's a lot of, community members who could probably do it, but not have the experience to do, have done it before, or, just try and figure out some of these things. Cause
I don't think any of it's a requirement, but it's certainly, for me, I would love to know if someone has that experience or not. And really that's like, if I was hiring an employee for this position, if I was CEO or director or whatever, I would definitely be asking, do you have experience in the position that you're filling? Not a requirement, but just simply,
Yeah, I think these
do
are
you have that
the
experience?
only two things that we basically ask about are if somebody has experience as a grant reviewer from before, which is I also think it's kind of a really plus if you have done it before in a crypto project or in another one. And the other one that we are asking about is the software developer skills. Yeah, because I think that's also we can all agree that kind of one of the grant reviewers that has a background in software development would be very useful. So I think we agreed that these are the two skills that we kind of want to highlight in the application, not excluding anyone. I'm pretty sure it will be very difficult to find people that have been grant reviewers before. But yeah, if there's one or two that have done it before and they can kind of prove it and show and have this experience, then why not? Why not tell it to the community? Yeah. In the other hand, I also understand you because we also have the question inside already. Um, what experience do you have that is relevant to this position? So basically, if you have been a grant reviewer, you would already answer it here. You would write, oh, I've been grant reviewer in Bankless for 2 years, blah. And I'm a software developer and I'm building software since 1995. You would basically already put all this information here. So kind of it's true. Why do we ask it specifically again?
That's a good point. But I mean, one of the pain points I usually see, obviously, this is how it's typically done, and of course that's good. But one of the things I usually do as if I have to fill out grants, or if I talk to other people who are actually filling out grants, like it's good to have the form that's easy to fill out and that. But some of the like you said, some of the questions can be redundant, so that definitely should be one of those things should be asked. But I'm trying to let you phrase the word.
But maybe this is not a form for applying for a grant. This is the process of becoming a committee member in the grant committee.
Mm.
So these are the
Oh, apologies.
questions. These are the questions that we want from people that want to basically become community delegates. And these are the information that we want to have from them. Of course, this as a grant review, as a grant application form, it's very much overkill.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize. I was unsure.
Yeah. But that's the thing. We basically want to strip down the persons that apply for these positions a little bit. But it was a good suggestion. So I'm basically asking everybody: do you think it's okay to remove these two questions about the software developer and the grant committee previous experience, and basically say, okay, it anyway would be something that people will write here in this question.
Maybe you could have it so that those things are requirements for the lead, because since the lead is going to be doing this full time, it might be worth it to have them state specifically, and it could be like a judgment thing for the community if we can find somebody who does have that experience, plus they know how to review code and stuff as the lead, and then for the people who are applying who are not the lead, even if they don't have experience as a grant reviewer or a software developer, you could maybe ask if they have how they feel like their background or experience is relevant to the position.
How about if we do it like this?
I would think leave the software developer question because it specifically states put your GitHub link, which I think is pretty important. I'm not a software dev, but I feel like the GitHub is where it's at, that people can review to see their abilities. And I would say to me, it would be more important as a reviewer to be a coder, that we have at least one coder, because essentially the program lead's not even reviewing grants. He's kind of, or she's kind of supervising, but it's the reviewers that are. I do agree it would be a huge benefit though that the program lead could also review code or have experience in project management of coding technology. So I mean, I think it is a little redundant, but I think the fact that it does say put your GitHub link is pretty interesting for this aspect. And then someone may say they're a coder, but you look at their GitHub account and they've done coding, sure, but they've never done IOTA coding, Tangle coding, Chrysalis coding, and then someone says, "Yeah, I've done some coding," and you look and it's like, "Oh shit, they're one of the top 5, IOTA Chrysalis coders." It's like, okay, we want that guy on the team. Just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, the GitHub link for somebody who's a bit sophisticated and knows a bit about coding, I think you can like see in 5 to 10 minutes what this guy is up to.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be Chrysalis coding, and so if the person maybe was active on Ethereum and knows about EVM and smart contracts, that's actually maybe more useful in this case.
That's more useful, definitely more important than somebody that has coded Chrysalis libraries, ping pong transactions. Yeah, smart contracts devs are definitely in higher need for the foreseeable future than somebody that basically done Chrysalis things. Yeah. So okay, I basically would say that's kind of cool. I would actually remove this grant reviewer question, leave the software thing in, and basically I added stuff here in the top. Yeah. So what experience do you have that is relevant to this position? Grant reviewer, project manager, etc. Please describe. Bang. And then we could basically skip this one, specifically the grant reviewer question, but leave the software developer thing in. Because like Werner said, you have GitHub, you have languages, potentially certificates, projects that you have worked in. So there's kind of a, yeah. What do people think? I mean, I don't want to make these decisions. It's basically should be what you think is most useful.
Hey, Fowler, I have a question.
Yeah.
You know the question that asks, can you question things critically and draw consequences of agreed conditions?
Yeah.
Like, how do you? I'm trying to think. Like, everybody is going to probably say that they can do this,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
mean, so are you looking for an example from
I don't
their
know.
work experience, or?
I don't know how we. This was a question this came up in one of our meetings. I don't know, 6-8 weeks ago, and we did put it in. I don't have much background to this question. I think it can be useful, but like you said, probably most people will just say, "Oh yes, I'm very critical. I blah 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 blah." So the question is kind of, is this really a useful question for us, or if it is something that basically would help voters to learn something new about a person?
Well, I think many of the questions, except the, let's say, hard facts, biography questions, are very much about a narrative that the applicant spins around him or herself. I will be good in these and that things because, for example, I worked in software development or I come from science or and so on. But this is, of course, all a little bit. It's very narrative driven. Let's say it's very hard to prove to somebody else that I'm totally a critical thinker. Hard to measure this, right?
Yeah.
But having several questions which go into a similar direction can give people, of course, more opportunities to at least explain themselves, like spinning up a narrative, if nothing else. Yeah, but I would still say it's optional. Like, I think if you, for example, explain your motivation and your professional background that qualifies you for this position, then probably you also touched upon the same things that you would write here that explain why you are a good critical thinker or something. Because when you already described why you could be suitable to review grants, yeah, probably similar reasons.
I'm
Yeah, I
always
think
a
I
fan of stripping things down and making them less complex and less. So I'm basically very much in favor of deleting a couple of those questions here.
yeah, I think Philo, your first suggestion is actually better. The suggestion you had at the beginning of the meeting, and get rid of questions like this, and then just at the end, give the option if you want to add anything else to your application, any other additional information you think might be relevant for your candidacy, then you could add it here. And then take out what Linus is saying are these kind of like narrative questions where people can just bullshit,
They're like, I think the critical thinking question is, I remember someone said there's that certain set of interview questions, right? And the interview questions are actually meant to kind of jolt people a little bit and get them to essentially critically think. And yeah, I mean, they could bullshit, but if they can bullshit and tie it in, I mean, basically you're testing their critical thinking skills because, right?
And you usually use these questions in a direct one-to-one interview, because then basically you have people sitting in front of you and they can't go back and think 3 hours about their answer. And this is basically when those questions are useful. Here, like as I said, you can just look up in Google what is the best answer for such a question and then write a nice shalala. And it also, it's a bit of the things, it also favors very, very good writers here, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
To an essence, but
that's normal, yeah.
I mean, if like for that instance, can you question things critically and draw consequence if agreed conditions, milestone, or goals are not met?
Yeah.
Basically, for someone to really answer that well, they're going to have to draw in to some experience of how they're reviewing grants or some experience of how they're managing teams that they, present milestone deliverables, but then that manager or that person involved is going to have to assess those milestone or goal deliverables, and did they meet them or did they not? And so if you have a lot of experience, because a lot of times, especially with like project proposals and teams, they got another funding. Maybe they got another 20,000 coming if they meet milestone 1. So they're sure as hell going to do whatever they can to make you think they met that deliverable. Meaning, in times they're going to try to, and it's not against anyone, but of course you want to get that next 20 grand so you can go on to the next work, but maybe you didn't finish something. So you might try to hide it, or you might try to present it that you've met this deliverable when really you haven't. So the reviewers that, let's say, is tasked as a project manager in those big tier 4 ones is really going to have to look at that deliverable submittal and go and think critical. Did they meet the delivery that they submitted in the proposal? Let me dive into it. Let me see what's there. And then tactfully, maybe they didn't ask the right questions. And I think that's the critical thinking of, hey, let me see this. I know you didn't submit this, but I want to see this just to prove that you said you did this code, or you said that you, got all this set up for this, huge annual conference, but let's just see some receipts to prove it before we give you the next milestone. So I think that's where it comes in. I mean, someone could Google whatever, but it's going to show that they did really. But again, that is, do we need that for a reviewer? I think that's a good program lead question, to be honest, because the program lead is really going to be reviewing, signing off on everything, especially the milestone and goals, I think. So they in particular would need to be able to look quickly, critically see, okay, did the reviewer check it off? Did they provide the information that they met the milestone and goals? Should we fund them for milestone 2, 3, 4, whatever? But yeah, I mean, it could be a little over the top for simply a reviewer, but I see where it's coming from, and I think there was that one individual that had there's a certain name for it, those particular interview questions, but that's what I take it as, at least.
You know, for a question like that, I think where Linus described it as being kind of like narrative driven, I would almost that kind of question. It almost seems like what you're saying, Fado, like a job interview question, like they would kind of drop on you. In this format, I would almost be more interested in what a person might think about like Web3 or like the future, how they see the future of the IOTA ecosystem going. You know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's actually a good point. Yeah.
Or in particular, that what do they see the future of the community treasury being, along with the ecosystem?
Because like when I go on social media or you know when I start looking into what other projects are doing, I hear a lot of interesting conversations about Web3 and you know what they want their role, like their project to be in it. And to me, that's kind of my you know I always get more interested in how they you know like how they kind of see things playing out in the future and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
what kind of vision does the person actually have for the treasury or the ecosystem?
Yeah.
This would interest me as a voter, definitely.
That's a really good point. Actually, like you said, that's makes a little bit more like yeah, you can really spin up all kind of bullshitting text here a little bit. So how do we proceed? Do we wanna skip or strip this a little bit down for the grant reviewer? Definitely.
Yes. I think if you really want to boil it down, then you could really just say, write your motivation and then write your professional background that qualifies you for this position. I think these are the really top two things. And now the extra question that we just said, what is your vision or where should the treasury and the ecosystem go? That's also very interesting
Yeah.
because it's not part of the motivation yet. If you just write about your motivation, it would provide additional information.
That's excellent. Just what is your conception of of what the purpose of the whole endeavor is? That right there catches a lot of info and shows how they think about it. And
yeah, I like that actually.
So if we have what motivates, and then you have the educational professional background, I would maybe keep, because those are like bullet points, and then you have what experience do you have that is relevant to the position.
I'd
That's
also
probably
keep that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the developer one, right? And then we pretty much get rid of everything else. And then we add in that conception of the future question. And then at the end is provide, any extra comments or web links you feel that the community should know that you haven't yet included. And then boom, done.
Yeah. Okay,
I agree. Sounds good.
Let me do this quickly. So I'll put this down here. Those legal questions stuff we have to leave here, but then we would have, okay, you have the experience, you have the software developer, and then you would have, okay, the willing to sign the legal contract, commit to 10 hours per week, blah, 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 the growth committee thing, and then how do we want to phrase it? What is your point of view? What is your motivation? No, not motivation. What's your
vision, maybe?
Vision. Maybe somebody. Hey, let's collect some good text in the chat. I'll add this. I'll add this in a final version then. I'll just copy that thing and put it in the Treasury channel chat. So we have it there, and then we could basically can just nail one additional sentence about the vision or view or thing. Okay. So this would be the current selection. I just posted it here. Okay, and also do this because basically I have to put this in here in the template. Yeah, cool. Also that you see, all these posts will always have this poll on the end of the post. My question would be, I think we talked about it in the last meeting already. The poll, put it on the top or put it on the bottom of the post?
I think bottom is better, right? It's
Oh,
like like the
it's
have you read this text
yes,
mark you
yes.
have to check.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it should kind of enforce people to scroll through the application and then make their decision instead of just making the decision of, oh, that's a name I recognize, bang. Yeah, but you don't never know.
Cool.
Yes, okay. So okay, let's all collect some ideas around this last question. And then maybe also for the project lead, do we wanna? I can post the current. I'll also post the current version for the project lead.
I think that one is incorrect, Philo.
What was incorrect?
I think the bottom was, but the top looked like it was for reviewer. I
What do
did
you
go
mean?
and just try to pull some of the stuff that we did for program lead and try to clean it up a little bit.
Where the one I've posted in the chat, or
No, like if you go to the discourse and click the program lead template,
yeah,
it will it looks like it's for reviewer.
program
At least
lead.
the top part.
The top part. So the preferred name, social media. Was it different from the?
So scroll down.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll that. So then do you have experience leading a grant reviewer team as a grant or as a, oh, okay. Can you question? Oh, okay. I thought we had your opinion skills and the most part. Okay, for this grant committee lead. Okay, never mind. I thought maybe I was looking at an old version then.
Yeah, we
Okay.
changed it a couple of times yesterday for the wording. But I'll also, like I said, I'll put this. I put this in the channel again.
Yeah.
That's for program lead. Really, message too long? What the hell? Okay, message too long. That shouldn't happen because actually, okay, cool. So because actually I would like to put this whole thing maybe tomorrow evening live. If we, let's say, if we can agree on this last question for the grant reviewer and the program lead, it would be amazing actually if we can start the application process then. Yeah.
Does everyone feel that we can kick this off tomorrow? That we feel ready? I mean, I think we are, and it'd be good for the timeline that leaves like 5 to 7 days buffer for the Firefly team to if they slip a little on getting the voting capability, because we really want to get this done before Christmas, because if people go on Christmas break, then forget about it.
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice. Plus,
Yeah.
it's never going to be perfect, right? We just going for the perfect thing, as we've seen, and with development and everything, it's like there's always something else you can get. It never stops.
Yeah, next week we will find another 2-3 words that we could change. We're doing this since months like that, and of course we arrived at a very good stage. But you see, it's kind of like you said, and we should also now give the people and the community the chance to get into this process. Have enough time for everybody to apply, because messages also don't submerge so quickly through into all the holes and the ends of our community. So I'd also rather would have it live and open earlier and have more time for the community to read through the applications, make up their mind, for people to really, because also if you haven't heard about this, but you see it now and then you think, oh cool, you also, you have to talk to your wife if you can get another 10 hours extra per week. So it's not some that on the first day there will be 20 applications running in. So the more time we can get for applicants to apply and for the community to read through and make themselves comfortable with the applications, the better it is. Yeah. So I would really love to have this going live tomorrow afternoon.
Can we make a clause or something that says, hey, look, nothing's perfect. If we find out that if the community, during this process, we find out there's glaring issues, we will change it, or something of that nature? Or is that, I don't know what people think about that.
What issues should be? I don't think we have any flaws here. We were just asking a couple of questions. Nothing wrong, basically. Of course, we could ask more questions or less questions, but in the end,
cool. Yeah, I say go for it. Put it out there. Get it done.
Okay, cool. So let's get this one sent. Yeah. Asa?
I was just saying, because if people haven't really been into what has been going on now, and now we get this voting coming, maybe it would be useful to have this kind of, if you remember what we did for the framework, this PDF with some steps, maybe it could be useful to have something like that, just like easy, like a small PDF. This is what's going to happen with the phases and votes and polls.
Yes, we need lots of education, right? So,
you never have enough.
Yeah. I could prepare something that we can review on Thursday, maybe.
If you have time, Asa, yes, absolutely.
Should be quite quick, because if we do like just one side with just so they're aware of all the steps for those that don't really open.
I have already this little. I have this little table already there. Basically, this is like the super easy mini step-by-step thing. What happens? What are requirements for the voting and things like that. But we can of course extend that a bit. If you have time to put something together, Asa, always great. Yeah. I'm also going to. I'm writing a blog post, so we'll publish something from the official accounts there, of course. And especially because this is not the only thing, we are also going to put up the Treasury framework, the second version. We're going to put up the Shimmer Governance framework, second version, reviewed and redone. And then also there's Dom's proposal coming up. So there's a lot of voting and governance stuff happening. The easier digestible we can make things for people, the better we will get responsive. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Philo, Dom couldn't make it today?
No, Dom has another meeting. He probably will come on Thursday. Cause also we are not finished with the redoing of Dom's proposal, so we're still working on some
Yeah.
wording and some things. So it wouldn't
One-
have much sense today to
Is Dom 100%? Is he? Let's say this. Did you clarify with Dom that the top 3 from the Treasury community would be the community members in the growth committee?
Yeah, he's into that. That's basically he's a good because in the end, otherwise we would have to make a second selection vote, basically with the same people. So he's absolutely into it. That's fine because anyway, people are voting their trusted delegates into the Treasury committee, and these are the ones that the community thinks are the best suited people for such a thing. So they will also be the best suited people for the growth committee.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just make sure that he agrees. I just don't want it to, all of a sudden it
Yeah, yeah.
changes last minute, and then it makes us look
No.
like we don't know what we're doing.
No. I mean, his proposal was also kind of already. I think he already written it in the beginning that for this candidate selection, it would follow the process designed by the governance group anyway. So yes, that's
Okay.
in. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if any one of you has some suggestion for this last sentence that we want to add for the grant reviewer position, and also some suggestions what we could maybe optimize in the lead application, the texts are in the channel. Please put it up there because then I will basically
Yeah.
yeah.
Follow tomorrow on Thursday again on 3 p.m. German time. Or I think maybe we are definitely going to need Dom for this one. So maybe Dom has to make sure that he can attend the meeting. So if
Yeah.
potentially we could move that to adjust for him, because I
Yeah,
think
I'll,
if we had it at 3, we had it at 4, we had it at 5. I think we are all at least a bit flexible in this.
Yes. I mean,
regard.
for me also, but when it's after midnight for me, it's a bit hard. Yes, but I definitely
have to
going
sleep in a bit.
definitely going to adjust it so that Dom can make it. But anyway, like I said, today it wouldn't have much to talk about because the final version is not yet final. So on Thursday it should be good.
And maybe he can leak a draft also, so we can already pre-discuss a bit or read through it.
No,
Would save some time.
No.
We want leaks.
I know, but that's basically it's still his proposal. So yeah, we have to take what we get.
Yeah, I'd say maybe ask him if he could share it a bit early, so we have time to prepare ourselves. I mean, it's not like he finished it. It's 3 minutes before the meeting starts.
Oh, you never know. Yes.
I just was to say, I hope he doesn't do it. I hope he really puts some.
No, I
good
mean
chilled time in it.
we are working on that since the weekend already. But there are things to clarify. Wordings needs to be pretty good, and because we don't want to put up a version 3 of this whole thing, so basically this needs to reflect exactly what what Dom wants, and put up the input that we got from the community in certain aspects and clarify things so that's easier to understand for everybody. And I think
So
that should
Dom
be
wants to put that one up already, because I thought maybe we should actually go over it on Thursday and then make some final adjustments, and then after the meeting we push it.
yes, that's the plan. Yeah, of course.
In this regard, I think it's good when we have some time to skim through it.
Yeah. Yes, if it's
So,
possible,
as
I'll try to share it before, if it's possible.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about it in the meeting. We'll see what Dom thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. Just tell Dom to share it whenever it's ready.
Mhm.
The earlier, the better, but don't rush it. He shouldn't too.
Yes. Okay, my friends. I think we've been again very productive. Like I said, if we can have a final version of the reviewer process, then we could really tomorrow make a little bit big noise in social and put this thing out into the wild. People can start applying. People can start reading through things if somebody already puts a proposal up there. I can then talk with comms also to share it from the big accounts, and because then we would have this started, because I think that's the most thing where people need the most time to get their head around. And yeah, like everybody said, the earlier we can start this. It's never going to be 100% perfect, but it's by far good enough. Again, I just can say, look in any other project and try to find something of a similar detailed work and quality. You will have a hard time in searching and finding anything. So we are already doing a lot of good stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Until then, I'd say, if there are no other questions in the audience, is anybody? I'm happy basically to see quite a lot of people here. Any one of you has some comments, some questions around everything we've been talking today? Okay, I take that as everybody's happy or too scared to stand. No.
Just lazy consensus.
That's lazy consensus. That's how we go since 2 years. Yeah, if you don't stand up and say what you don't like, it's not going to change. Until then, we have the channels. Leave your comments there, and see you on Thursday at 3 p.m. Very likely. If anything changes in the time, I'll notify every one of you. I'll ping you. But I think we can make the 3 p.m. I have to look in Dom's calendar. Usually I can already see if he's completely blocked or if he's available. Okay, everyone. Then have a nice evening, have a nice morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Let's get these things moving and see you on Thursday. And any comments, just use the channel. Let's discuss this last few couple of details, and so we make it really nice for everyone to apply and to read the applications. Okay? Bye-bye, everyone.
Awesome. Peace
See
out.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You.
Bye.